I just got the message. We're being live streamed.
Very good. And we're live. Welcome to Love and Money Secrets TV. I'm so happy and excited that I have my fellow genius, mystic, healer, friend, and soulmate, Clint Baggett. He's part of my tribe. And you guys, it's so awesome. I'm one of the few fortunate ones who have been able to share him with you guys over the last several years. And boy, it's been quite a ride and a journey, hasn't it, Clint?
Yeah, it has. There's been a lot that's happened in the past few years.
Yeah, just a wee bit. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep. Yeah. All
So,
beautiful things.
all beautiful things. We are both very, very fortunate that we met at a Dr. Joe week-long event. And as you guys know, for those of you who have been to the week-longs, they are really quite extraordinary. And so, Clint, I want you to share because I know that we're definitely both into the different healing modalities, and you have not just a military background, an extraordinary military background, but you also have more of a technical background as well. So, tell people, a little bit about yourself so they can kind of get a frame of reference and kind of relate to some of the things that you have done and are doing.
Yeah, no, like you said, I spent about 6 years with the Texas Air National Guard and toured overseas. And coming out of that, I got into the IT field and started working in specifically the data center industry. So very technical, very, physical kind of oriented space. But I did that for very successfully for almost 2 decades and ended up working with some really cool companies like eBay and PayPal and Apple and really, really fantastic experiences. And then as a leader there, leading global critical operations, very complex systems and stuff. There's a lot of stress to deal with for me and my teams. I spent a lot of time doing talent development and helping my teams grow. And what became more and more apparent to me, and I thought it was just in our industry, but was the importance for well-being, right? Mental health and managing stress and stuff. So which ultimately led me to the Dr. Joe retreat where we met, as I was trying to explore what's best for me and what's best for my team and how do we survive this kind of chaotic changing economy that's happening and stuff like that. And found that a lot of it we really have to consider the whole human frame. And so I've now shifted to where I'm helping leaders, embrace that, how to embrace the whole human frame, how to be a conscious leader and make a difference in your life and your team's life by developing awareness. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
So I love the fact that, when we look back at our history, we can unravel that mystery of why it is that we're doing what we're doing, how we're doing it, with whom we're doing it with. And we are zigzagging our way onto our path and our purpose and where it is that we are ultimately to be. And the divine knows how to tee us up
Yeah,
really in a way that there's no way that if led to our own devices, we would have picked definitely different things. And of course, it always has something to do because the divine knows that, those things that resonate with us, those things that intrigue us and create a curiosity for us, we're led by those things for a reason, right? And
yeah,
so you
absolutely.
have this extraordinary, you've got the military background and then you have this incredible technical background that you've worked with, Apple and Microsoft and eBay and PayPal and some of the largest, corporate entities and leading, when I met you, you still had a very large contingency of people in the US and Europe that you were training and teaching and implementing all sorts of systems. And
Yep.
at the same time, of course, because, we are whole beings, we are not just some of us try to live more fragmented when we're younger, at least I did. But as we get older, we realize it's like, wait a minute, I need to acknowledge and embrace the whole of who I am and my soul experience and my spiritual walk. And that energy is in everything and all that I am and that I do and anyone that I come in contact with. So
Yeah.
I think it was about 2 years ago, I was able to share you up in the fall of 2022. And we did that 6 week intensive, if you will, where every week you came on board every Monday night and you shared with my tribe of viewers and audience and listeners and so forth. And one of the things that evolved in one of your meditations and amalgamation, and if you will, it's like an alchemy of all these things that you've experienced in your lifetime. You came up with this fascinating thing called mind. It was like grid words,
Yeah.
mind programming. And it really was a way to digest what you have inside, but it's like a written meditation.
Yeah. Very
And
much.
it's so transformative to go through this process, and it's so flexible where you can do it with rows of like 3 3 and 3 or 4 4 and 4. There's kind of no limit, but it was a very cathartic process for all of us who went through it and who continue to use it.
Yeah.
And then, as luck would have it, of course, I started using as a tool. Of course, I was using that also in my practice, but I also came across the cell activation patches, which it was amazing how you were quickly, ready to try them and use them, because we all have things that are going on in our bodies, and everyone is pretty much affected by the electromagnetic frequencies from all the gadgets and the LED lights and the 5G and all the toxins that come from all sorts of different places. And so you and your wife and your father began on this journey to use, again, it's more light activation, because in meditation, that's what we're doing, right? We're
Yeah.
direct our inner light, the blessing of the energy centers, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth, right? And
Yeah.
I remember the first Dr. Joe event. He said 146. I'm like, 146? What is he talking about? 146, 146. And then finally, like I think 2 hours into the week, the very first week long, I'm like, oh, the first energy center, the fourth, the sixth. I get it. Duh. And
Mhm.
I read Supernatural, but for some reason that eluded me. All that to say that the patches are, in fact, like a 12-hour meditation equivalent, because in meditation, we're directing our inner infrared light that's inside of all of us. And now with the patch, that patch is immediately activating your original blueprint from conception to bring
Yeah.
you to a younger, healthier state. So you've had some pretty cool experiences yourself, your wife, and your dad. What would you like to share with viewers so that they, can understand how you've benefited from this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd like to kind of just jump in on what you were talking about with the frequencies and stuff. In the work that I've done, it was very surprising what I found when I started looking for what's the right thing to help people move forward, to grow, and to function at their highest potential, right? Because there's a lot of people who have, dreams and desires and hopes, but they're stuck and they can't move, which is, why I do the coaching I do, is to help activate people to reach their highest potential. But interestingly enough, it all comes down to frequency, right? It comes down to that internal thought vibration, emotional state that we're in and how often that we're in it, right? And that's not to say that there are certain frequencies we don't ever want to contact with, because sometimes, anger and sadness is appropriate, right? And it can be actually part of the healing process, but we don't want to stay in those. And what I started to observe is that a lot of us, because of whether it's the way we're raised or work culture or whatever it may be, we don't really let ourselves get into the healthy, coherent state of mind, right? We've got all these tasks we're just bouncing to, and and it breaks us down in the way that we think. And what happens is we compartmentalize and we create this level of separation in our mind so that it doesn't function. It's just like if I used to do some EMT work, and we know that like if your body comes under extreme duress, it will start to shut down systems that it doesn't need. And this is kind of where we function, right? We're not really utilizing our full function. So the grid work, right? I do therapy sessions for where I take, about 45 minutes and I work someone through a cycle of thoughts and cues and stuff. And what that does is unlocks that coherent state of mind. I've had people say that just 30 minutes in that coherent state of mind, and they felt the health benefits of it for weeks. But so when you told me about the patches, right, I was just like, oh, this is fantastic because it again is reestablishing and helping to balance our frequencies, right? So by through the bioluminescent feedback, right, we're just kind of letting that vibration enter into our body and do the work that it does, because it's really, we want to get in that coherent state of mind. When we're there, that's what allows a lot of healing to do it, and these patches work with that, right? They're a benefit and a tool. And so even at first I was just, like, all right, let's try this. It sounds interesting. I think the science, checks out, the theory makes sense to me. And then we got them. And so here comes like the really interesting part. So I started using them. My wife started using them. My dad, who has Parkinson's, started using them. And for me, the experience was I definitely started to feel more energy. I felt more clear-minded, right? It wasn't as hard for me to focus and get into the state of mind that I needed to do. So it was definitely helping me in my meditations. It also helped me. I wanted to lose some weight, and I helped me. My appetite, started to control. I've lost, I think, a total of, as of today, 20 28 pounds. So pretty good over like about a, what is it, 6 7 month period, which isn't bad. So super thankful for that, right? So I'm feeling better, feeling more energetic, and definitely seeing the results of that. And well, you could just, attribute that because my appetite's changed, I have changed my diet, all those kind of things that work and help to work together with that. But really the results with my dad are what made me know, like, wow, this is doing more than I think it may be, because we were putting it on him. And at this point, he was not getting out of his chair a lot. His body was still very not stable. He was having a lot of health issues and trouble with his throat. He had stimulators installed to stop this like violent shaking he had in his body. And some of that was working with great restraint, but he started using these, and I started to notice he wouldn't talk a lot, right? He would just say only what he had to say because it was really hard for him to get his words out. He started talking more. He started having conversations. These were kind of first early signs that I noticed. He started talking about, he was numb, his feet were numb, and he started noticing pain in his feet, right? Which, that's not maybe what people are looking for, but a little pain is better than numbness because it means the feeling's coming back, right? So, he started to notice that. And his hair was silver on top. And what we observed, it was that his hair started getting darker in the back of his hair, and so the color has been coming back in his hair. And his attitude improved, and not that he had a bad attitude, but he was tired and uncomfortable a lot, and it's really difficult to be kind of friendly and engaging when you're feeling that bad. But his mood just started lifting, and it was really fantastic to watch. And so, he has since then not only continued to do better, but is now with his love in the Philippines. And they are enjoying a rich, happy life. I was just looking at pictures where they're getting out and going to beaches. I've seen him in a life vest out swimming in a river. Which it's hard to imagine. The dad that couldn't hardly get out of my chair a year ago in my living room is halfway around the world swimming in beautiful natural rivers and excited and full of life. And actually seen him send a video, and he had a weight in his arm and he was lifting weights, with this. I'm like, my dad's working out. Like, I haven't even took the time to start working out. I'm like, like he's one-upping me here. I was like, what is going on? So it has been just a really fantastic experience to see the results in him, because they've been so pronounced, right? And which is just kind of a management of the care that we need, and we haven't had in our bodies for a long time, and now as we're reintroducing these things, so I think if it's doing that for him now, at his age, what is it doing for me long term, right? How many years am I adding to my life? It's hard to calculate at this point.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. So here you have someone who is definitely, things were getting infinitely worse for him, and he's confined to his chair, and he has numbness, and he has violent shaking, from his diagnosis of Parkinson's. And he had, all sorts of other, his obviously, if you're confined to a chair, you can barely talk. You're going to be a little frustrated because you have a lot more to express, but this condition that you have is inhibiting you. It's kind of like you're a prisoner in your own body due to these circumstances. And now he's literally flying all over the world, traveling, and he's met the love of his life. And now he's picking up weights. And it's literally like the hands of time have been turned back. It's like rewinding a video to 20, 30 years before, when he had youth, vitality, vigor,
Yeah.
clarity, the joie de vivre, that the French talk about, which is the joy of life, which is
Yeah.
supposed to be our natural, like you and I are living that. But to see this radical transformation in your father, where, oh my gosh, he's even starting to work out, and he's out in the sun and at the beach, and he's with the love of his life, and he's exploring where he couldn't really explore anything confined to his chair. And now
Yeah.
he's like, who can keep up with him?
Yeah, yeah. There was a point about a year ago we were driving, and he was this is when he had just kind of started to come live with us and stay with us, and I was taking him somewhere, and I asked him a question, and he's just would say, I'm trying. And I knew he was saying, I'm trying to answer you. And I'm just telling Dad, just take as long as you need. If it takes 5 minutes to answer, I'll just wait 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. And I realized, like, my dad, the dad I've known my whole life, is in there. He's thinking, and he's feeling, and he's having experiences just like he always has, but his body's not responding. It's his body. It's almost like a cage for him, and so I just was kind of praying in my heart, right? Like, like, is there anything I can do to help let him out of this cage? Is there anything that can be done? And I made that commitment as a son. I'm going to try to do whatever I can for you, Dad. I'm going to just figure it out, right? And so it was so beautiful, because the way the universe works, right? I feel like if we have a good, honest desire, and we're willing to just trust and kind of really, I like to imagine the future the way I want it to be, and get in that mental state now to kind of show my faith that, like, look, I believe this prayer can be answered, and it will happen, right? And sure enough, I think it couldn't have been more than maybe a month or so after that point, when you had introduced the patches to us, and I was like, so really, to me, I was like, there was an ask, and when you told me about that, I'm like, oh, this sounds like an answer, right? Like, potentially. And so, I think that I would say, for like people who are thinking about this, all these things, sometimes it's really easy to dismiss almost anything out there, because there's been so much crap kind of flooded into the market. It's hard to know what you can trust and what you can't trust. But if you're looking for something, right, sometimes you just have to be willing to take that leap and take that step. And I mean, this is a non-invasive. I think I had one problem with it that I told you about, and I'll just be honest with that. Like, and I just kept putting them in the exact same place, so my skin got a little irritated, or from having the same sticker on it in the same place every day for a while. And you're like, Clint, just move them. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should do that, right? And so I haven't had that problem since. So that's really been the only thing I could say as far as any kind of negative impact that I found. But yeah, it's been fantastic. And you know to anyone, I would say, definitely give them a shot. You've got a great program. You do so well in kind of explaining all the different options and stuff like that. So I really, really appreciate that. But yeah, give it a shot. Yeah, I think you'll be surprised at the results, and potentially, if you're later in life, it seems like, at least from what my observation is, the results can be pretty profound.
Astonishing, yeah. And I tell people, you know what, your body didn't get into the place where it's at, overnight. It wasn't a 1 hour thing. It wasn't a 24-hour thing. It's usually a culmination of many things. Sometimes people have multiple things going on and they're not even aware of it, but they know that something's not right. And so it does take time for the body to repair and for it to regenerate. And so giving yourself, without being on the patches, our bodies are on a 7-year schedule to turn over all 56 trillion cells of the body. Now, when you're on the patches, of course, the time frame is collapsed because everything, when you have 33% additional original master smart cells that are now replacing, restoring, and damaged tissue is replaced with the original tissue, scarred tissue is purged like a toxin, along with all the other toxins. That takes time. And so usually in a 12 to 18-month period, we see very impressive results. But people will start to see sometimes impressive results 30 seconds to 2 minutes. If you've had a migraine, I've patched people who we put the mother cell activation patch and then ice wave on either temple if they have headaches or migraines. And they're like, oh my gosh. Every single person, doesn't matter where, if it's in the US or Europe, it's universal. It's like kind of like if you're happy, you smile. If you're
Yeah.
angry, you frown. Well, I guess the universal expression when you have a migraine and it disappears is like you're like looking out in the horizon to see where did it go. It's so funny. I didn't know that until I started, patching all these people, and they're like, can it really work that fast? I'm like, and they're like going like this because before just even moving a slight bit, their brain would hurt, they had light sensitivity, and now they're like, I'm totally fine. Can it? And I tell them, it's like, well, you're not completely repaired, but yes, we've turned off the pain receptors with the ice wave patch. And meanwhile, the mother cell activation patch is replacing damaged tissue with your original tissue. We're not
Yeah.
putting a date on it. And you just need to allow that cellular reparation to take place. And over the next 30, 60, 90 days, the next 6 months to the next year, anything that's in your body that is out of sorts is going to be repaired and regenerated. And that's why if you're overweight, you'll lose weight. If you're underweight, you'll gain weight. Whatever it is that's too low or too high will be brought into balance. Any toxins that are foreign that shouldn't be in there, guess what? The little I had the skin irritation too with the first week. And I had a patch, I had it right here on my thymus gland. And oh my gosh, it was so itchy and it got red and it was like itching like crazy. And for a couple of days, I just kept it on there and I'm like, oh, it's driving me batty. I finally moved it. And it's because your skin is pulling through, you're detoxifying, not just through your urine. Because a lot of people will notice, oh, I'm going so much more to the bathroom the first few days. I'm like, yeah, because you have a lot of poisons and toxins that shouldn't be in there. Your body's going, oh, we have 33% more remodeling crew here. We got to take the trash out. Got to get it
Yeah.
out. We do that
Yeah.
through urination, defecation, and perspiration. Sweat, pee, and poop it out. So now it's getting caught under the little adhesive, and you just got to move it over. Once you move it over, you're like, okay, what a relief.
Yeah.
You don't have that itchiness, that irritation, and now you're off to the races. And so now you have this more efficient detoxification. I had people who have been suffering with constipation for 15 years. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm finally having regular bowel movements. I feel so much lighter. I feel so much better. It's not 100% gone yet. I go, yeah, it takes time. But over the next several months, I don't know if it'll be a month. I don't know how severe your constipation is. Maybe it'll be 3 months. Maybe it'll be 6 months. Maybe it'll take an entire year. We don't know. What we do know is that there is reparation taking place every single minute, every single second you're wearing that patch. And
Yeah.
so finally, something that can take you from going, instead of things getting infinitely worse, which was where your dad was. And
Yeah.
we're all in that place because unless you have something that can turn the boat around, as we age, we just decline. Now we're like, oh, wait a minute. Now things are getting infinitely better. And as long as we're wearing the patch, we really are reverse aging. And we see that because we do blood tests. And I test up to 48 different biomarkers. And other people will go to their own doctors and their own, through, it doesn't matter where you get it done. The thing is that you get it done. But we can see that the markers are showing that you are actually chronologically one age. And some people were chronologically one age and biologically older than that age. And now, while being on the patches with as little as 3 months, they're like, oh, now I used to be chronologically this age, but biologically, that age has come down, or it's less than my
Yeah,
chronological age.
it's wild. I mean, I'm watching it happen. I've watched dad roll back 5 to 8 years in less than a year of this. I mean, it's pretty incredible. So yeah, there's I think we're at a point where at least it's now comfortable to talk about it, and mainstream's going to have to accept this. We have an energetic body, right? There is the physical body, but the physical body itself is an energetic body, right? If you look at what it is, we're all made up of energy and frequency. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, you don't have to believe in it. You can say, "Oh, no, you're crazy," whatever. But it really doesn't matter. The proof is there. We have an energetic body, and we have to maintenance that as well. And I think it comes down to food and all this stuff, the way we interact, what we watch, what we think. But definitely, to have something that is, technology is essentially what it is, a technology that helps to address and treat the energetic body in you and bring balance to that flow of energy throughout your body. And it's having amazing results, and nothing makes me happier than that, because this is where we need to take things, right? Like less knives, less scalpels, more energy body work, because it's helpful. I'm watching people who address it that way, go their cancers go into remission and all this kind of incredible stuff, right? From working with the energetic body versus only the physical.
Yeah, and it is in the clinical studies. I've read all 90 of them, and they talk about it being an organic nanotechnology that uses photobiomodulation on traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points. So organic because they're all organic crystals, and
Mhm.
nanotechnology because the crystals are very, very, you can't, like, you look at the crystals on the patches, and with a naked eye, you just see a white dot, almost looks like a fabric. But and I do have a microscope, when I figure out how can I show what I can see in a microscope using either my cell phone or a camera, because I don't have whatever device to connect to the
Yeah.
microscope so that I can actually videotape it. I'll have to take the time to learn how to do that. But then you can actually see the individual crystals, and each one of those crystals are programmed with a frequency. And then after they're programmed with a frequency, they've been arranged in a very specific geometrical gridwork pattern to effectuate the effect of the mother cell activation patch actually turns on your P63 protein and activates your GHKCU copper peptide.
Hmm.
That's pretty technical. For those who are neuro nerds, you guys are going, finally, it's like scratching an itch that I had. Thank you for satisfying that. For others of you are going to TMI, too much information, GHKC, huh? But that's part of the science. That's how you're starting this domino effect of turning on 33% of your previously dormant stem cells. Now, the original scientist who discovered that that was even a possibility, believe it or not, this was discovered over 50 years ago. And it was, there's a guy, a scientist, he's still alive. His name is Dr. Picard. I talk about Dr. Lauren Picard in my presentations because he's the one who discovered that just by increasing GHKCU copper peptide in your body, you could activate 33% of your original stem cells from when you were conceived. So now roll up to 2004, and you have David Schmidt, who has the Department of Defense, who put him under contract to invent all sorts of things. And then they said, hey, David, we've got these Black Ops Navy SEALs, and we give them, energy drinks, we give them amphetamines, we give them uppers, and those work really well, but it's really hard on their bodies. Is there any way you can enhance their energy? And lo and behold, that's when the first cell activation patch was born. That was 20 years ago. And people think that stem cell activation is something that's just in the last couple of years, last 5 years. Just in this last week, I've had people say, it's like, oh, this is just something new and in vogue the last 5 to 7 years. I'm like, well, that's your perception because this is not your field of expertise. But I will tell you that Dr. Bruce Lipton, who you, Clint, you know as well, Dr. Joe has done a lot of speaking with Dr. Bruce Lipton. But before I even started doing Dr. Joe's work, I had Dr. Bruce Lipton on my radio show prior to my being on YouTube, and that was called The Bottom Line Show Live. You could still find it on iTunes. But he was doing stem cell cloning and stem cell research in the 60s while he was teaching medical school. And he wasn't teaching about stem cells in medical school at the time, but he was all that was what his research was in. And he's known
Amazing.
as the father of epigenetics. He's the one who discovered and realized that the cell is not controlled by the nucleus, which was what we were taught in elementary school, junior high, high school. Even when I was pre-med, they were still teaching that, even though he had discovered 20 years before that that wasn't the case. And so I'm going, oh my gosh, before I was born, he was already doing, I mean, what a trailblazer for him to have been doing that in 1960, 61, 62, 63, 64. I'm going, holy cow, that's extraordinary. So now we're at a time and place in history that really we have all co-created with each other, with David Schmidt, the founder, the guy who invented these cell activation patches. We've been co-creators. We've had, I love what you say, Clint, because I've never had anybody language this when it comes to negative emotions. We have such a like a about negative emotions and almost like we wish that they never existed. But you say a negative emotion is just an ask.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that so that our listeners realize, because some of them are having, have had negative emotions up until now. They're like, oh, there's hope. Maybe this is exactly what I'm looking for. Elaborate about negative emotions being an ask.
Yeah, just in recently, I've kind of started, talking about it as the attractive and productive forces, right? Negative emotion, we feel negative emotion when something's missing, right? We feel sad when we want to be happy. We feel angry because something didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And if you look at all of those feelings, they're all associated to something we wanted that's missing. And so it's very clear to me that when we're having those things, we're asking for something, right? And what I think a lot of times we tend to do is we feel like that because the ask is in us, someone else must respond. But it is us that needs to respond. We have to respond to ourselves. What are we asking for? Become aware of that,
Mm.
and as quickly as possible, shift away from that energy and move into the energy of the answer. Right. This helps to establish clarity. And I love to quote Albert Einstein on this. He said, a problem can't be solved from the same level of thinking that created it. So, the emotion that was there at the experience that creates the ask, that vibration, you can use it to as a guidepost. What is it asking for? And find exactly where the answer is, what the feeling of that answer is, and move into that. And I found that if as often as I've done that, and the students I've worked with that do that, you find success faster, much faster. You'll find results that are better, and more clear to you. It's good information, but negative emotion to me, yes, is just an ask.
Yeah. So if you're unhealthy, you're angry, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're irritated because you're unhealthy. So the ask is to be healthy, to be happy, to be joyous, to be satisfied, to be able to move, and to groove and to create. And so as I think, if we leave nothing else with viewers and listeners today, pay attention to your negative emotions because they're like Clint said very clearly, that's a guidepost. It's like, wait a minute, this is really bugging me. If you don't want it to bug you, the opposite of that, what you really want is to not have something pushing against you or irritating you or bothering you. You want to be free and joyous and supported with a positive energy. So it isn't,
Absolutely.
and you can have that, but you can't stay in that being bothered and bugged or being annoyed or angry. You have to be going, okay, yeah, this is there for a reason. I don't have to wallow in that negative emotion. I'm just using it, like you said, it's a guidepost. It's there to say, hey, red flag. Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you got pain, you got something going on, there needs to be a change in behavior here. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, rather than expect somebody else to come in and fix it, which you made it very clear. we have to respond with ability. We have to take the responsibility, right? And we
Hmm.
gotta say, okay, now I realize why I have this negative emotion, and I'm like, I'm gonna hit the pause button. What is it that I really want? What can I do about it? And maybe I don't have the answers right now, but like you said, you start to ask. You had just asked, what time frame was it that you mentioned that you had asked, and then the patches came into your
Oh,
experience
within a month. Yeah. Yeah.
within a month's time. I've had so many. I had another gal, Lisa, who said she was making all sorts of changes, like in her career, her position, and she was already a very high level executive in the IT world. And she's like, she just wanted to reach, something much higher with, and she also wanted a mentor, and she wanted something else that was new and exciting in her life. And she had some health things that were kind of a concern, that she would like to resolve. She literally sat down, did a meditation, in the first 10 days, boom, a new job with the same company, higher rank, higher pay, higher response. Everything just went boom, 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 boom. The patches were part of what came into that
Yeah.
experience. It was like incredible. And so it's possible for you. It's possible for me. It was possible for her. It's possible for anybody who's breathing. If you're watching this, if you're hearing this, if you're experiencing this because somebody's telling you about it, know that it is possible. And no one is so special that this does not work. It's those are the words of Dr. Joe
Yeah.
Dispenza. It doesn't matter if you believe in gravity or not. You're subject to the laws of gravity. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it doesn't make a difference. You
Yeah.
jump off a 10-story building, you believe it, you go splat. You don't believe it, you go splat. You're subject to the laws. And the same thing with our stem cells that are inside of our bodies. Everything that we have inside of us, whether we're conscious of it or not, it's working. It's
Absolutely. And one thing I found is our bodies in that negative emotion, it doesn't ask for anything it can't deliver or that can't be delivered. We don't ask for things that don't exist. We don't our emotions don't call out for some fairy tale, right? Our emotions, if you're having that pain, just like I said, you called it out perfectly. I was driving along, the ask happened. I seen my dad, I felt that pain. It hurt, right? And I realized there was an ask in my heart. I wanted to see him healthy. I knew what the ask was 100%. It was clear to me in that moment. And so that's what I said I did. I just shifted right into that thinking. All right, I'm going to just start imagining you living a healthy life. I had talked to him. I was like, Dad, how long do you want to what do you want? And he's like, I want to stay around another 20, 30 years. I want to have a healthy and happy life. And I said, then we're just going to accept that that's what's going to happen. And we're going to start putting ourselves in that mindset. And I know the universe will open the doors. And so this door opened. And I'm so very thankful to you, for being, the conduit for which that information can flow to us, and, creating that connection and attachment. This is the work I think that we're really all meant to do, is to find the health, find the help, find the cure, find the solutions, and then share it with each other as much and as often as possible.
Yeah, creating that help and that connection is really paramount. That's what we're all here to do for each other. We do it for ourselves, we do it for each other. So Clint, oh my gosh, I want to make sure that people can get in touch with you, because what you're doing with evolving mindsets is mind-blowing in a great way.
No, thank you.
How CLINT can really guide you through, whether it's a grid word mind programming process, or I know he's got a few other things. I'm going to have CLINT come back because we're going to dedicate an entire episode to talking about specifically some of the processes that he guides his corporate clients through with really major transformational results. Now you take that and you add the patches to it, and the sky
Yeah.
really is the limit. So give yourself permission to ask what you want for. Clint, where can people get in touch with you? If they want to reach out to you, they want to get in touch with you, if they want to book a session with you, where is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, I'll give you my calendar link, and you can post with this maybe in the comments or in the description if you want. But also, if anyone's just listening, it's Clint, CLINT, at evolving-mindsets.com. Send me an email, and I'm glad to help anyone. I always say, I want to make sure I'm the right person to help you. So let me know what's going on. And if not, I'll point you to whoever I know who can help you. But that my commitment is to try to help people wake up, find their highest self, and especially leaders. We need leaders. We need lots of leaders. That's why I focus on leadership development. We got a lot of new people entering the workforce and entering leadership positions, and there's no really good training or preparation for entering into a leadership role. People just, it's a sink or swim kind of thing, and it needs to not be that way. We need to fix that. We need to prepare people and help people understand just what it is they're doing as a leader, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, if you need help in that space, Clint at evolving-mindsets.com, and I'll give you my Calendly link.
CLINT at evolving-mindsets.com. So we'll provide the Calendly link. We'll also provide his email. I believe you also have a YouTube channel, don't you, that you talk about these
Yeah.
things? So we're
Yep.
gonna
So we're going to be putting the videos on the YouTube. We haven't really started rolling them out yet. I'm kind of running through first drafts, but that will be coming. We will be on YouTube. There's also I think it's at evolving underscore mindsets is on Instagram, but I can definitely give you those links and stuff. But we're out there in a couple places. Been doing a lot of one-on-one work and direct coaching, but the whole push behind this was, working for one company, I could help 1,000 people, but by going out on my own, I can help 1 million. So, just like you're doing with the patches, right? Let's get these things out of the secrets, out of the shadows, and get people the help they really need. Activate them, let us all live our fullest life and with our full sovereignty of who we are and what we could do.
Yeah, activate them for their fullest sovereignty. I love that. All right, Clint, thank you for being here today. And
My pleasure.
thank you, all of you who are watching this, whether you're watching the live, whether you're watching the replay, there's probably people you've been thinking about. Yes, make sure you copy the link. First of all, like this, hit the bell there so you get the notification bell every time we put up a new episode. And then do share this link with someone you don't know. You might be saving another human being's life just by sharing this. And now they begin to get the information that they need so they can make that informed choice to empower themselves to get their body to a healthier, happier place. All right. Mwah. Ciao for now, my friends and gems. And I'm so happy and excited that you guys spent this time with us today.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.